The Thompson household was buzzing with frantic energy, a vibrant core of excitement and tension. As the countdown to Sarah's wedding, he was getting closer and closer. In just 3 weeks, she would say yes, she accepted, to the lovely Mark Jordan. And the atmosphere was charged with a mixture of anticipation and chaos. Although the main elements, the venue, the DJ, the catering, the bar, the wedding dress, the church, and the flowers, they had been meticulously arranged months in advance. Every detail seemed to ignite a new debate between Sara and her mother, Sheila. Their exchanges had become a comedic routine, with each skirmish more dramatic than the last, as the pressure of the impending wedding increased. Meanwhile, Conor, Sara's father, he had adopted the role of a reluctant peacemaker, or rather, as a passive observer. He preferred to stay on the sidelines, knowing that the wedding inevitably, I would re-engage him at 3 crucial moments: walking with your daughter down the aisle, to share a dance that would resonate with memories, and, of course, to settle the hefty bill. While handling the lawnmower in the garage, the familiar sounds of his wife and daughter, discussing the minutiae of wedding protocol, they were leaking from the house, a symphony of exasperation and love. He didn't really care about the details, the ones they were arguing about, and he was well aware that, even if I had strong opinions, they would not be well received. So, in the middle of everything, he resolved to let the storm swirl around him. Imagine this. There's a guy just walking around, on his shiny lawn tractor, feeling like the king of the neighborhood. The sun is shining, the lawn is freshly mowed, and he's speeding along in his little paradise, when suddenly a thought comes to her. He's daydreaming, with the crunchy taste of a cold beer. Classic case of I forgot the best part. With a new mission, run back inside, plotting a stealth operation to get a beer, without alerting his wife and daughter. The refrigerator, cunningly hidden in a cozy corner, looks like the perfect place for his little prank. I thought he hit the jackpot when he manages to grab his precious frozen treasure. But just as he's about to take that first glorious sip, overhear a heated conversation, which brings him back to reality. It turns out that Sara is deeply involved in a conversation with his mother about an upcoming bachelorette party. It looks like something out of the plot of a wild movie. They're planning an epic party at a friend's house. And it's not just any party. Or not. They're going to bring not 1, but 3 male dancers. Poor guy. He has no rest. Caught between the lure of a cold drink and the chaos that's brewing. Just 1 room away. What the lawn tractor king can do. Sheila, the ever-vigilant mom, he was pulling out all the stops to deter his daughter of the idea of hosting dancers at her bachelorette party. Honey, a private house. It's just not the right place. For this kind of crazy, things can get out of control, Sheila warned. But Sara, bursting with emotion, replied, Mom, this is my last big party. Before I say yes, I want to make this night legendary. The girls have everything organized in cream. I am determined to create unforgettable memories. Sara, I understand how excited you are, but let's be realistic about what might happen once. Let those dancers start showing off, and your so-called friends encourage you to join the fun. You might find yourself a little hebrea and dragged along for the time being. That's a slippery slope. Mom, please, I've been to a lot of bachelorette parties. I know the procedure. The goal is to get rid of and pushing the boundaries of the bride. This is my last celebration before plunging into married life, and I want to take advantage of every crazy second. After all, I'll be tied up for years. Sara, if Mark finds out that you're planning, getting involved with these guys, maybe you won't even make it to the altar. You could end up with a broken engagement before even having the chance of sending those thank you cards. Seriously, I doubt he will find out the truth, especially with all these girls backing me up. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if your bachelor party, it turns into a wild night with dancers. Do you have any concrete proof of that? Sure, they could pass by a dancers club and take a look at some dancers. But if he really crossed the line with them, wouldn't you lose a little respect for him too? Think about it. Yes, just 9 days away from the wedding, he slept with some women to Lazar. It wouldn't hurt. Mom, it would definitely affect me a lot if I found out about something like that. I might even have to rethink the whole wedding. Although I can't say for sure, you know what? Tonight is just for me. I just want to relax and have an amazing time with everyone. But with everyone glued to social media, taking selfies everywhere, keeping this secret is going to be almost impossible, especially when the only who can keep it are a group of slightly drunk girls. Imagine how devastated Mark would be if he ever found out the truth. Then, at a time when it seemed that the air had been torn from the room, Sara blurted out a truth that broke the fragile silence. With burning determination, she faced her mother, her voice steady despite the storm that was raging. Inside it, "Mom, those are the thoughts that were running through your head. Well, I caught you betraying Dad a decade ago. Did you even stop to think how would you feel?" Just as Sheila was about to open her mouth to reply, a sudden, loud bang echoed through the kitchen, pulling the two women out of the depth of their confrontation. They turned in unison and saw Conor, motionless next to the refrigerator, his expression a mixture of surprise and disbelief. His mouth was open, as if the words had betrayed him. His hand hung limply at his side, the beer can I was holding rolling on the floor, with its contents poured out in silent testimony of the tension that filled the air. Overwhelmed, Sheila instinctively shielded her face and fled from the dinette, running up the stairs to the sanctuary of her bedroom and closing the door quickly, as if that could block the truth. Sara, her heart heavy with guilt, called her. "Dad, I'm so sorry." Her eyes were shining with regret as I stretched out my arms in search of a hug, a plea for comfort. But Conor, caught in a whirlwind of emotions, he took a step back, creating distance between them. "Okay, Sara, enough with the games," he said, his voice firm but pained. "I need you to tell me everything. No hiding things. If you want to keep your world from falling apart, you better start talking." "Dad, I really think it would be better if you talked to Mom about this," Sara replied. "I made a big mistake, and honestly, I wish I could turn back time and pretend those last 10 minutes never happened. But now that I've let the cat out of the bag, it's time to face the consequences. I hope you don't hold a grudge against him for this. Of course, he made a mistake, a small slip a decade ago. Can't we just let go and seek some forgiveness? I feel like it's been forever since then. But let's be realistic. I can't just sweep it under the carpet and act like everything is fine. Dad, I totally understand how much this situation has hurt you. Still, I urge you to listen to Mom. She loves you more than anything in this world, and I promise you that's true. Now, I don't think you fully understand how serious all this is. If I had any idea that Mark has been involved with that blonde waitress at the restaurant during the last few months, maybe this would make a little more sense to you. Enough of the suspense. It's time to reveal the secrets. I need every detail you have, and I want to know how you discovered them. No hiding. So, hey, speed up the scoop, Sara continued. Do you remember when you had to run out for this exclusive training about advanced technology for your job? When I was 18 years old, I don't remember the name, but it was quite a scandal, wasn't it? Instead of confronting you, she just left without saying a word. Can you believe his audacity? But honestly, you deserve to know the truth. "Ah, I remember it perfectly," Conor said, his voice heavy with emotion. "I was on a mission to ensure that promotion at work, and they made that training a non-negotiable part of the process. What the fuck, Gino, was that? Do you realize that I did this for all of us, right? It was a small sacrifice in the grand scheme of things, a fleeting inconvenience that I was waiting for. It would lead to a brighter future for our family. Hey, Dad, I understand that you and Mom, they had been married for 2 decades by that time, but it was the first time that she was completely alone. I'm not trying to justify what happened. It's just a truth that stuck in my mind. It wasn't even supposed to, that he was at home during the spring break, but I managed to finish my courses early, and a couple of my teachers, they decided to cancel classes. So I took advantage of the unexpected opportunity. I wanted to surprise Mom, especially since lately she had sounded so lonely during our phone calls, especially in the last month. Little did I know it would end, delivering a much bigger surprise than I had planned. Just like you did a moment ago, quietly enter through the side door. And that's when I heard some strange noises coming from the family room. My curiosity increased. I couldn't help but peek out. What I saw took my breath away. There was a man lying on the sofa. Mom was there, dressed only in her jeans, with your back to me, oblivious to my presence. I was very young, but I was very conscious of the gravity of the moment that was unfolding before my eyes. I'm sorry, Dad, but I had already sailed through these waters, so I recognized what was happening. When JD, the sound broke through the attention, like a knife, and they both froze, caught in the act. Mom's composure. She broke down as the tears were falling down her cheeks, and he demanded the man to leave. He tried to explain himself, but I was too immersed in my own whirlwind of accusations, as if to listen to her. The night went on, and when you called to find out how I was, she begged me to keep the truth a secret, imploring me to wait until you came back home, for you to hear it directly from her or from me, anxious to protect you of such a devastating revelation. While you were gone, he reluctantly agreed. After all, you had to come back before I left for college. As the days went by, we had countless conversations, and I found her warning me towards her. There was a sincerity in his repentance that I couldn't ignore. Can you believe that he confessed that it wasn't his first slip? However, he promised that it would be the last. He rebelled his deep loneliness, a feeling amplified by our absence, that led her to make better mistakes. Garador. He insisted with fervor that he had never entered that treacherous terrain before. We even had a sincere conversation, mapping out the possible consequences if the truth came to light. In that moment of brutal honesty, we both agreed that the divorce was looming over us. The thought of it made my blood run, and the only way to avoid that fate, it was to seal my lips tightly. Mom had always said that if I ever felt like I was betraying you, she had to be honest and face the consequences. But Dad, please, find it in your heart to forgive me. The mere thought of you two splitting up, it was too painful to bear. So I made a solemn gesture to Mom. As long as she promised to stay true to you, I would keep that secret with my life. It wasn't easy for Sara, carrying that burden all these years. He has weighed many on his shoulders. He feels that the presence of Conor, it's a dark cloud looming ominously. And with each passing day, his personal nightmare seems to be deepening. Did you see that guy, Sara? Dad, please, let's not go that way. We are already on the verge. And honestly, the identity of his partner. It doesn't matter now. Do you have any idea who it might have been? Honestly, I can't say for sure. Maybe Mom will rebel the truth one day. But I will not wait with hope. I know this is a lot to take in, and I am deeply sorry if you feel betrayed because of my silence. But I can't force myself to reveal the secret. I want you to understand that never. I could feel rage against you. This tangle is not your fault, and I refuse to drag you into the chaos of it all. It wouldn't be fair to you, dear. Your mother and I have some business to settle, and this is something we must navigate together. Now, let's change the subject, which is the one that has piqued your curiosity. What is this fascination you have with dancers? Dad, I think he'll come up and talk to Mom. Announced by Sara, determination shining in his eyes. Maybe I can help her relax a little. He added in a firm voice. Please don't go yet. We can catch up later and talk about everything else. Conor urged with a tone that was a mixture of concern and hope. Hey, Sara, I have to go out for a while. They will be back in time for dinner, and we really need to have a deep conversation. Just you and me, he said before making his exit. But for Sheila, this was the moment I had been dreading for a decade. The weight of your unresolved issues. It hung over her like a dark cloud. And today was the day I couldn't escape it anymore. Taking a deep breath, Sara walked over to her mother's, his hand hesitating before tapping gently. Hi, Mom, it's me. May I come in? Inside, Sheila felt the gravity of the moment, summoning every ounce of courage. He opened the door, only to find a scene that broke his composure, a sight that made his heart. He will collapse into the depths of despair. Tears were falling down the faces of both women, reflection of the emotional storm swirling between them. Mom, I completely ruined it, Sara confessed, with a voice full of regret. Just drop everything without thinking. I'm so sorry. Honey, don't carry this burden on your shoulders. Her mother replied by wiping her eyes. This is something I have to handle myself. It's me who has to face the consequences. Sara nodded with a heavy heart. I've really thrown our family into chaos. I don't even know if Dad will ever forgive me for this, but I know I have to try. Speaking of your dad, keep going downstairs, asked his mother, looking towards the staircase. No, he said he had to go away for a while, but he promised he'd be back in time for dinner. Sara replied with a faint hint of concern in her voice. Where could he have gone? Sheila wondered aloud, frowning as I looked around the room, waiting to see her husband. The air felt thick with unspoken words and unresolved tensions, leaving both women anxious for what would come next. Sara paused. A thoughtful line crossed his forehead. What if he went to a bar? He ventured, his voice tinged with concern. I can't blame him completely for wanting a drink, but I just hope it doesn't sink into something worse. The last thing I need is for my decisions to add more burdens to yours. When the afternoon settled in around 6 p.m., Sheila's senses sharpened, with the unmistakable sound of the garage door screeching to the open and then closing gently. Intrigued, she went down the stairs, attracted by an irrefutable need to see her husband. When entering the room, the anguish marked on his face struck her, like I'm dealing with a wound that cut deeper than the flesh. It was a painful sight, one that twisted his heart. However, he plucked up courage, determined to face the truth. I never wanted this day to come, in which you had to face my shame. He confessed, every word charged with emotion. Did you really cheat on me? The question floated in the air, burdened with the weight of betrayal and the spark of hope that maybe it was all a misunderstanding. He leaned towards her, a heroic smile curving his lips, already anticipating the response it would provoke. Listen, it started, his voice dripping with a false sincerity. I need you to understand this. I never meant to hurt you. It seems like it was forever ago, but the weight of my guilt clings to me like a shadow. You can dig deep and find the grace to forgive me. I've spent every waking moment in the last 10 years striving to be the best wife I can be, all to atone for my past mistake. Can you believe it? He continued, his tone changing to one of casual fun. A decade of deception. The words came out of his mouth like a sensational headline, and with a demonic spark in the eyes, he blurted out the shocking truth. Oh, and by the way, she really is my daughter. There was no doubt in her mind about Sara's lineage. He just wanted to cut her off with his words. And oh, how he pulled it off. She inhaled hard, fighting the urge to fall apart under the weight of Conor's relentless revelation. With trembling lips, I snag at diving. You know she's yours. With only 18 years, I was on the verge of adulthood, full of dreams and aspirations. When everything fell apart, he was supposed to be discovering himself, herself at the university, but fate had other plans. The door burst open, and in that instant, the fragile fabric of their lives was torn apart. Who was he? He demanded, his voice cutting through the tension like a knife. We put that I can't say, she replied, with a tremor of defiance in his voice. You seem to be jumping to conclusions. He replied with a racing heart. What makes you think our marriage is made to last? His words echoed ominously, shattering his world like glass under his feet. Tears started to fall down her cheeks, every drop a testament to his anguish. After all we've been through, you're ready to destroy our family because of a reckless mistake. You still don't love me. His voice broke, a heartbreaking plea for the love they once shared, floating in the air like a whisper that fades away. You really think I'm going to just sit and let you take the easy way out? You cheated on me, and now you have the nerve to reverse the roles. Listen, let's not go down that road. I'm ready to do whatever it takes to put things right and rebuild trust that we ever had. Demands the deal. I put everything on the table right now, and I promise to keep everything a secret until after the wedding. I want her to have that perfect family moment on a special day, but if you even think about trying to cheat on me, trust me, I will not hesitate to involve my lawyer and initiate serious consequences. So what are you going to do? I am willing to be honest about everything. After all, we can't let anything ruin our daughter's wedding, can we? As the attention in the room intensified, she hesitated, her voice shaking as she begged. Can we please not take that out again? Just as he was about to finish his thought, Conor got up from his chair, shaking his head in disbelief. Her body language screamed that she had crossed a line. He took a few steps towards the stairs, clearly ready to leave. When Sheila could no longer contain herself, she let go. It was Mike. The words came out of his lips like a bursting dam. "You're going to hate us forever." Sheila continued, her voice full of regret. "I'm very sorry. Mike, of all those who could have been, my so-called friend, he did this to me." "Why?" Suddenly, memories flashed through his mind, vivid and painful. "Do you remember that time you were 3 full months away for that training course? It was the first time I was really completely alone. I have to admit that it was more difficult than I thought, not having you and Sara around. I felt lost in that loneliness. I got closer to Mike than I should have. I called him a couple of times to help with little things. A confusing sink, a broken lock. And you know what? We ended up sharing more than just tools. We sat down to have a coffee, and it turned into a nice chat, a comforting distraction from the silence that surrounded me. The weight of his words hung in the air, a mixture of nostalgia and betrayal, while realizing how easily trust could be broken. During my second visit, I felt a wave of emotions invade me, and before I knew it, the tears started to flow, revealing the depths of my loneliness. He noticed my struggle and instinctively approached, closer, his arm wrapping around me in a protective hug. At that very vulnerable moment, his grip tightened around me, and though a voice in my head was warning me to stay away, I found myself leaning towards him, looking forward to the quality of your connection. I will improve towards him and in a whirlwind of emotions. I let him kiss me, responding even to his affection, even if it was only for a fleeting moment. But then just like that, the weight of reality hit me like a freight train, and panic coursed through my veins. I recognized the path we were on too well, and in the blink of an eye, got out of my seat. He seemed to understand the urgency of the moment, instinctively preparing to leave. But wait, you didn't realize how precarious. What was the situation from the beginning? Her voice took on a tone I had never heard before, full of frustration and anger. I wish it would all end there. But unfortunately, this was just the beginning of a much more complicated story. The next day, he reappeared, with worry etched on his face, anxious to make sure that I was feeling fine after our unexpected encounter. I should have gotten it off my chest, to tell her that she was fine, and that he could go home. But the truth is that his presence was like a warm blanket. On a cold night, I found myself wishing for the comfort it offered. What started as a simple company, it turned into something intoxicating. One moment we were sharing laughter. The next, our lips were rosy, and then our hands were doing something. Before I knew it, we were tangled up on the couch, and a familiar wave of shame washed over me. Enter the Sara with a biting sense of self-deprecation. How had I allowed myself to fall into this trap, seeking refuge in the arms of another? During your absence, I was determined to delay a line in the sand, to put an end to this reckless betrayal before you came back. But the determination that I thought I had, it was slipping through my fingers like sand. At our third meeting, just when I was struggling with my conscience, fate took a sharp turn. I got dressed and walked through the door, back from college, and he found us in a compromising situation. There I was without a shirt, the air charged with tension. And Mike, well, let's just say he was decidedly poorly dressed for the occasion. I don't think I need to explain it further. When her scream pierced the air, Mike and I were frozen, caught up in the whirlwind of their raw emotions. At that moment, a heavy truth. He settled deeply inside of us. We were betraying someone truly exceptional. The best man, the most faithful friend, the most devoted husband anyone could wish for. The days that followed, they were full of tension. Between Sara and me, it felt like we were walking on a tightrope, every step full of uncertainty. Finally, we sat down to have an honest conversation. Make it clear that the decision to tell you the truth, she was only his, but I couldn't help but express my hope. What would we expect until we could face you together in person? We both understood the pain that this revelation could bring, and she promised him that I would never betray your trust again. Sara was convinced that if you found out the truth, It would destroy our marriage. So she felt compelled to keep it hidden. I couldn't help but feel grateful for his choice, even if it weighed on my conscience. So there you have it. The whole story. It is almost impossible to capture the depth of despair that's weighing on me right now. Imagine this, to discover that the woman you appreciate, he has given his heart, and what's worse, his body, to someone else. And it all happened right under your own roof. To add more insult to injury, my so-called friend Mike, it was part of this betrayal. But you know I'm a person of my word, and I will honor my commitments. Even in the face of this heartbreaking pain, there's a tangle of secrets in this situation, much more intricate than you can imagine. But don't worry, you won't have to endure a decade of suspense to unravel everything. Just wait until after the wedding, and the truth will come out. Sheila was plunged into a storm of grief, struggling with realization that their once cherished relationship, his eyes were falling apart before. The urge to delve deeper into the truth was overwhelming. But the simmering tension between her and her husband, it contained her, leaving her paralyzed. The next day, as the family talk came back into focus, in the wedding plans, that uncomfortable elephant remained present, casting a few shadows over the festivities and making everyone uncomfortable, aware of the subjacent tumult. Conor, always the diplomat, he chose to keep silent about Sheila's infidelity. Instead of plunging into the whirlwind of the plans for the wedding, that seemed to be a whirlwind of feminine energy, he opted for a calmer approach, allowing women to take the lead. After all, he thought to himself, sometimes silence is the wisest choice. Eventually, Sara felt the need to have an honest conversation with his dad. He embraced the opportunity, looking forward to a moment of connection with your daughter. When they settled into the cozy living room, closing the door to the outside world, Sara took a deep breath and said, "Dad, we really need to talk about my bachelorette party." Conor raised an eyebrow, a complicit smile peeking out on his face. "I imagined it," he replied. His curiosity was aroused. "Do you have any doubts about that?" Sara hesitated for a moment, then said, "Dad, I know you heard everything that happened yesterday, before my Carla with Mom." The atmosphere was full of unsaid worries, and they both knew that this conversation would be anything but ordinary. "I see you figured out what I was planning," Sara continued. "But now that I've seen the depth of your pain in Mom, it has become painfully clear. To carry that terrible secret for so long has crushed any chance of a casual romance, or to find joy in the company of dancers. I am very relieved to hear that you are having doubts. It would have been incredibly difficult for Mark if I had followed through with your plans, and it could have even destroyed your relationship, irretrievably. Honestly, if I were in his shoes and found out what you were considering, I don't think I could move on either. Are you really considering breaking up with Mom? I can't even begin to imagine how devastated I would be. She is filled with remorse and begging for another chance. Please, Dad, think it over. Baby, I want you to know that my love for you, it is deeper than any words could express. The attention between your mom and me is a delicate matter, one that belongs only to us. It's not for you to have an opinion. For now, we have agreed to put aside, and I hope we both respect that decision. Is that clear?" "Sure, Dad, I get it," he replied with a hint of resignation. "That's fine," he replied, his tone firm but gentle. "Now let's focus again on the reason we met in the first place. I have made a decision that weighs heavily on me. I'm going to cancel the bachelorette party. I know the girls are going to give me a hard time about this, but I've realized that it's not fair to them. Putting your future at risk for a night of excitement, that it could get out of control in 1,000 different ways. The reality is that I'm the one taking all the risks here." "Oh, absolutely." He nodded in agreement. "Choosing that path not only puts your future at stake, it also puts Mark's in danger. And let's be honest, even he's not getting any emotion out of it. The only person who could win something is you. And it's an empty victory at best. And it's really worth the risk for both of us. If this is what should happen, maybe he doesn't deserve it after all." "Ah, honey, I would have been an amazing match for him," said his dad with a sad smile on his lips. "What stopped you?" "Dad, I swear I didn't want this to happen. But deep down, we both know he was about to commit. A colossal mistake until I accidentally let that conversation with Mom slip. When I was just trying to give myself some common sense, now I have turned everything upside down for all of you. I can't even begin to express how deeply sorry I am. This mess is all because of my reckless words. I feel so unworthy of all your love and support. Your mother's guilt is something she must face alone. Do not carry the weight of your decisions. And as for you, it's time to find forgiveness within yourself. Instead of letting this near disaster haunt you, let her boost your commitment to Mark. You know what, Dad? I've been thinking about this a lot, and I don't think I can move on until I confess the truth to Mark. You know what, Dad? I've been mulling this over, and I don't think I can move on until I tell Mark the truth. He deserves the option to walk away if he wants, because what I did is beyond forgiveness. I need to be honest with him so that if one of my friends accidentally blurts out the truth, don't catch him by surprise. It's fair to give him the reins on whether he wants to stay in this relationship. Honey, I have to be real with you, her dad said. I don't completely agree with your decision, but at the end of the day, it's your decision. If you are really committed to this path, it is probably prudent to act sooner rather than later. Sara felt the urgency of the moment and sent a flood of messages to Mark, insisting on what to stop by her house after work, stressed the importance of the conversation, and he concluded his message with a heartfelt, "I love you." When the clock struck 6, Mark arrived and knocked gently on the door. He was warmly received by Conor. After a few friendly exchanges, Conor led Mark to the living room where Sara was waiting for him. But something felt weird. He noticed that his eyes were fixed on the ground, a vision that caused him a wave of discomfort. "Hey, what's going on, honey?" he asked gently. "Why don't you sit down? There's something important I need to talk to you about." The air was heavy with unspoken words. As she approached, his voice is barely a whisper. She danced like a secret in the wind. It may be hard to hear, and you don't have to respond right away. He looked into her eyes, resolute and sincere. "I could never hate you. I love you too much for that." Changing the subject, she perked up. "Hey, Mark, have you heard? The girls are planning a desolate farewell for me." "I know," he replied with a smile. "The kids are cooking something for me too. But don't worry. I promise not to let them do anything to endanger you." But while her eyes were shining with unshed tears, the weight of his emotions pressed heavily against his chest. "You know, you're really the best guy a woman could hope for," she said with a trembling voice. "But there's something I need to tell you. Come on, don't get all emotional right now." He joked, trying to lighten the mood. "I was hoping for some fun, but not a total collapse. That's fine. It's not like you're planning on hiring a bunch of dancers and escape on a wild adventure." He added. His laughter faded away when he noticed that she was burying her face in her hands, her body shaking with silent sobs. Panic seized him, twisting his stomach into knots. "Wait, let me get this straight," he said, his voice shaking. "You invited me here to drop the bomb on me, that you've already had the party and you've fallen in love with a dancer." The words remained in the air, a fragile thread between them. I have never expressed such a thought before, but now I felt like it was a heavy truth, adding tension to the atmosphere that Spark rotated around him. Marks jumped out his chair. I get a mixture of disbelief and frustration. "Oh my God, Sara, did you really go through with that? You threw everything into chaos just days before our wedding." A wave of panic swept over Sara, but he plucked up his courage and answered him firmly. "Please wait." Mark did not jump to conclusions. "The party hasn't even happened yet. I haven't done anything that you think I've done." Surprised, he joined back in his seat, bewildered. "So what's the problem?" With a deep sigh, Sara decided it was time to tell the whole truth. He related every wild detail of the situation, carefully omitting a crucial aspect: his mother's business. "You won't believe what happened," he started, her big eyes with urgency. "Dad, listen to Mom and me having a huge discussion about the dancers for my party. She was furious, accusing me of treating it as a last fling. Then, Dad took me out to the living room and started with the serious talk. He said that if he was the boyfriend, he would have left me without thinking about it." Sara paused, remembering the weight of her father's words. "But you know what? My dad really made me see things from your perspective. It opened my eyes about the depth of the pain." and the chaos my decisions had caused. And sincerely sorry. I felt it was crucial to express it directly to you, instead of letting you hear it from someone else. I wanted to give you the opportunity to leave, if that's what you needed. I know I've been a fool, and someone as extraordinary as you. He deserves something much better. A heavy silence enveloped the room as Mark remained motionless, processing his words. Finally, his tense posture was lifted. That's fine. Let me get this straight. His steady voice began. You had a heated argument with your mom, who warned against it while you insisted that you had every right to express yourself with those dancers. And if your dad hadn't gotten involved, you would have done it anyway. That's really the essential thing. She simply offered a silent nod in response. So what's your next move? You were waiting for some comforting words like, don't worry. It wasn't that serious. That's what you want to hear. His voice cracked. I'm drowning in a tide of shame and regret. I fervently hope that you can dig deep and find in your heart. Forgive me. May your love for me not be broken beyond repair. Honestly, I'm completely lost here. As things stand, we have no choice but to cancel the wedding. It's up to Tito, take control, and cancel everything. Yes, that includes breaking the news to our families. Part of me wants to urge you to tell them the whole truth. But the thought of my mom finding out that the woman who was supposed to be the future mother of her grandchildren had thought about falling in love with a group of dancers is unbearable. His last words hit Sara like lightning, leaving her so worth it. The mere thought of confronting her future mother-in-law after this mess made her stomach. He would stir. How could I look her in the eye again? Hey, please don't try to contact me. If I want to talk, I'll be the one to call you. Honestly, there is nothing left to analyze or clarify, and a meeting seems unnecessary at this point. With that, he got up from his seat, his ire visible at every step as he exited the room. The door slammed shut behind him with such force that it echoed in the air, ignoring completely to Sheila as if she were a mere shadow. The Thompson family had just entered a whirlwind of chaos. Just a few days ago, they were full of excitement, preparing for their daughter's wedding with friends and family members anxiously awaiting the celebration. But fate had other plans, turning his world upside down in the blink of an eye. Of eyes. Everyone fell apart when they discovered the scandalous intentions of their best friend's girlfriend. For a night of debauchery, to stoke the fire, a surprising matter involving his own mother came to light. It was an emotional roller coaster, twisting and turning with each revelation. After this chaos, the family collectively decided to postpone any discussion about Sheila and Conor's marriage until after Sara's wedding. The wedding planning was full of tension. Sara couldn't get rid of the guilt that gnawed at her. So, as if it were the blink of an eye, the rumors about Sheila's infidelity. They resurfaced, casting a dark shadow over what was once a perfect celebration. The Thompsons, who were floating on cloud nine, were seen descending into chaos in a flash. And close my eyes. After Mark's abrupt departure, Conor and Sheila settled into the living room, fighting. With the repercussions, Sara, always so attentive to everything, wasted no time immersing herself in the drama. The wedding was now hanging by a thread, jostling between an indefinite postponement and the gloomy possibility of a permanent cancellation. His curiosity reached its peak. He turned to Sheila and asked her, "What does this mean for you?" "I really screwed up," Sheila replied, her voice tinged with regret. And boy, is he furious. I honestly can't blame him. The atmosphere was fraught with tension as they faced the reality of story, of love that was crumbling before her eyes. "Hey, Mom, can I have a moment alone with Dad?" Sara asked, her voice reflecting a mixture of curiosity and concern. Sheila hesitated for a second, her instincts kicking in. "I don't think so," he replied with a look that said it all. "I have a feeling I know exactly what this is about." With that, she left the living room, closing the door behind her. Conor wasted no time in getting straight to the point. "You're probably wondering what my plans are regarding your mother," he said, his tone serious, but suffused with an air of inevitability. "Dad," Sara said, her gaze fixed, "since my wedding fell apart, we really need to talk about your marriage. Is it okay to divorce her or not? It's not fair to keep her waiting with false hopes. I know you well enough to know that I wouldn't be so cruel." He leaned forward, his voice softening. "It is crucial for her to understand what her place is. You know how much he loves you with every fiber of his being and cream. He's carrying more guilt than you can imagine. I wish I could turn back time, Dad. I wish I hadn't said anything." Sarah's eyes sparkled with unshed tears, the weight of the conversation pressing heavily on his shoulders. The air in the room thickened as they both faced the reality of their family. Fractured. If only I hadn't gotten so into my own world, that fight with Mom wouldn't have ended up in this chaos. "But well, don't worry. Mark is going to calm down in time," he replied. "Now, about the other situation, it's much more tangled than you think. So listen, you need to stay away from that from now on. All right? Oh, and before I forget, you've told someone about Mom and Mike's secret." "So she blurted out something about Mike," Sara said. "It's okay, Dad. You can count on me to stay out of it. And in case you don't know, I haven't said a word to anyone, not even to my closest friends. My lips are sealed about Uncle Mike and Mom. Listen, we're going to address this situation soon, and once we resolve it, we'll be ready to make important decisions. I can feel those thoughts going around in your head about cheating. Just a passing curiosity, right? Maybe you even hesitated on the edge of a decision. But listen, there are others who jumped into the pool, and now we have a great curiosity, right? And the whole story could always remain a mystery to you. So, in the grand scheme of things, this really is none of your business," he affirmed. Meanwhile, Conor had a candid conversation with his daughter, and the whole story could always remain a mystery to you. "So, in the grand scheme of things, this really is none of your business," he affirmed. Meanwhile, Conor had a candid conversation with his daughter, making sure she understood the importance of avoiding any conversation about her marriage with his mom or anything related to Uncle Mike, who wasn't really an uncle. He also advised her to stay away. The next night, to her relief, she accepted without hesitation. With that settled, Conor headed to the kitchen where he found Sheila. The atmosphere hummed with an unspoken tension, and a storm of anxiety was stirring his mind as he struggled with a burning question. Would Sheila have dropped the bomb on him and Mike? Sheila, perceiving the weight of the moment, he shook his head vigorously refuting any conversation on the subject. Without wasting a second, Conor's voice cut through the tension, telling him to call Mike and Kate, to invite them to dinner the next night. The mere thought of the impending showdown, it sent a shiver down Sheila's spine, making him get a knot in his stomach. How could she confess to her dear friend that she had betrayed her trust by having an affair with her husband? Gathering as much courage as possible, Sheila dialed the number with a racing heart. To her surprise, her friend enthusiastically accepted the invitation. The next night unfolded like a scene from a well-known play, with laughter and warmth filling the air as they gathered. Around the table, the air was heavy with unspoken words and unresolved feelings, a tangle of betrayal and pain that left everyone so worth it. Conor seemed to be navigating the tense atmosphere with surprising composure, a testament to a decade of preparation for moments like this. Meanwhile, Kate's attention, he turned to Sheila, who instinctively looked away, his palpable shame, while avoiding the gaze of her friend. In a desperate search for comfort, Sheila fixed her eyes on her husband, longing for some security. But before I could find comfort, Kate attacked like a viper. His words were sharp and biting. "I just admire the closeness you have with your husband and all the amazing things he's capable of doing." The revelation hit Sheila like thunder. He felt as if the ground was vanishing under his feet. The betrayal of the man I loved, the very heart of his world. He destroyed her instantly. The words escaped him as his eyes. They were going from Conor to Kate, a whirlwind of disbelief and anguish, turning you inside of her. "It can't be. It's not true. Please tell me you want to offend me." He turned to Conor, the despair etched on his face. "Were you with her?" Conor's response was an empty echo of regret. "It wasn't love. We just wanted to soothe the pain in our hearts," she said. His words were left floating in the air, a stark reminder of the fractures in their lives, while Sheila dealt with the reality of her shattered confidence. We thought revenge was the only way to keep our marriages alive. Conor confessed, his voice full of regret. Wait, you're saying that you too have been acting, sneaking around for a decade just to get even? Mike's voice shook with disbelief and anguish. Wait, they're saying they've been acting, sneaking around for a decade just to get even? Mike's voice shook with disbelief and anguish. You have no idea how gifted this has become. Conor continued. At first, we thought that reflecting your betrayal, it would somehow bring us closure. But the truth is that it only deepened our wounds. We never really felt good about this. Something was stolen from us, something irreplaceable, something that can never be repaired. Mike replied, her eyes darkening with pain. Katie, I tried to find with ground in our own wrong actions. But over time, it became painfully clear that we were doing more harm than good. We couldn't crush their spirits, as ours were crushed. Not when you were completely oblivious to our secret. We managed to maintain a facade of normalcy between the four of us. But it was a fragile illusion, barely holding it together. Every smile felt like a betrayal. Every laugh, a reminder of the chaos beneath the surface. We were all caught in a web of deceit, and none of us were really free, in spite of everything that had happened. A rescission of love for my wife. It still lingered in my heart. Every time those dark, heartbreaking thoughts, I stopped sharing intimate moments with her. They were threatening to invade my mind. He quickly directed my attention towards the beauty of Kate's amazing physique. It was my little refuge, a way to protect myself from the looming negativity. We had even planned to reveal all about our affair. The same day, you two decided to take a step forward and take responsibility, secretly waiting for an opportunity for forgiveness. But to our surprise, that moment never came. So you've both experienced the love, only twice in all these years. Sheila, always the curious. He couldn't help but inquire. It was actually 3 times. Imagine this. The day that Sara, unintentionally, he blurted out the truth. I shot out of the house, the urgency pushing me to find Deb and tell him that all that mess had resurfaced. And then there was that unforgettable moment when I confronted you saying, or did the Conor really sleep with my wife 2 days ago? Mike's voice cut through the tension like a knife, in a double chin of anguish. Deep down, he couldn't deny that there was something that attracted him to me, but I had stupidly let him get even closer. Kate, with a malicious smile, revealed another surprising twist that left Mike and Sheila so worth it. Isn't that it? Sheila JDO, his eyes widening with disbelief. And you fell in love with her just 2 days ago, right? He turned to Mike, his expression a mixture of shock and frustration. What kind of history have we gotten ourselves into? Really, guys, was it necessary to do it again? Leave it, Mike said. The air was heavy with drama, and it felt like everyone was on the edge of a chaotic cannellation. Every revelation pushing those closer to the abyss. The fire of your anger has not finally gone out. After all this time, I asked Mike. His curiosity was piqued when Sheila. He nodded vigorously. His eyes are full of understanding. Just when Conor was about to defend himself, Kate intervened with a determined expression on her face. You know what, Conor? This is my fault. Appreciated your willingness to take the blame. But we need to be honest here. His firm voice continued. This is my fault. I wanted them both to feel the burning pain of betrayal that I experienced when Conor and I went through it. Confessing a 10-year-old foray does not carry the same weight than to find out that your partner was involved in the most intimate act imaginable. Just 2 days ago, I wanted them both to feel the raw pain that shattered my world. The attention in the room intensified, every word hanging heavily in the air, while the naked truth ignited a storm of emotions just below the surface. I'm not going to apologize if that makes me sound mean. In fact, I refuse to nod pity at all. The time has finally come when Sheila. He summoned up the courage to break his silence. Conor, Kate, her trembling but determined voice began. I need to offer you the same sincere apologies. This burden has devoured me for too long, and I've struggled with the truth for years. As the years went by, the weight of his secret was becoming more and more unbearable. Sheila fixed her gaze on Kate, his eyes full of regret. His voice softened slightly. And although there was a friendship between Conor and me, I want to be clear, there were never any romantic feelings involved. The air was heavy with unspoken truths, and the tension of his revelations hung palpably in the room. His actions were dictated by resentment, the need to hurt them both. And when you didn't tell the truth, we convinced ourselves that we needed to teach you a lesson. I had a strong feeling that if I had addressed to you, at that time, it would have ruined our relationship. But that does not justify what we have done. Conor added, I think Sheila will agree with me. I'm ready to get rid of this marriage tonight. Sheila was surprised by Conor's words. I don't want to get divorced, my love. I love you and I'm sorry for everything, Sheila. I won't be able to forgive you. We need to move on, Conor said. Kate, and I wanted to hurt you. Saying that, Kate and I had an intimate relationship. But we couldn't do this just for revenge. Goodbye, Sheila. With these words, Conor left the house of an old friend. After packing your suitcase, he embarked on a journey he had dreamed of for a long time. And now that moment had come. Sara had been feeling quite low for the last 3 weeks. The wedding plans had completely fallen apart, and she couldn't shake the regret. To have been honest with Mark, although I respected his decision not to communicate, he was monitoring his situation through their mutual friends. Then, he seemed to have closed in on himself, leaving only to work, occasionally stopping by his favorite pub for a drink, and most of the time staying at his parents' house. She couldn't help but blame herself. His selfishness and recklessness. They had cost him a wonderful companion. Her friends worried about both of them were also keeping an eye on Sara. Mark was informed that there was a possibility that she was fighting self-harm compensations. They explained to him that the guilt he felt for the damage that he had caused made it difficult for him to imagine a future. Since he left his job, he had completely isolated himself from the world. She refused invitations from friends and didn't even go out alone. He spent most of his time in his room, bursting into tears. Although I was trying to deny it, someone overheard her talking to herself, saying that everyone would be better off without her. When Mark heard this, it brought him out of his gloomy state. In spite of the tumult that surrounded them, I knew 2 things. He still loved her and that he would not be able to forgive her. He called her, and when she answered, he felt that a worried was waiting for bad news. He took a deep breath and said, Sara, we need to end our relationship. There will be no wedding. Please don't say that. I love you. The words were suspended in the air, full of despair, while Conor was enjoying the stunning scenery and embraced the thrill of life. Sheila and Sara were searching with soil in the bottom of a bottle, his laughter masking the deep sadness that weighed on their hearts, the absence of their partners. He left a pain that seemed insurmountable, a constant reminder of your choices. Meanwhile, Kate had finally reached her breaking point, kicking Mike out and starting the divorce, who had remained in the shadows for too long. In moments of clarity, Conor was calling Kate, her voice brimming with emotion, while sharing stories of new adventures, not knowing what was happening. Thank you for your valuable time. Give me your generous likes. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. May the force be with you. Write an assessment of this story in the comments. See you later.